Yeah, so we're doing a little discussion on apps optimization and what has changed in iOS 11. I just at WWDC I'd been already writing a book on apps optimization, which already contained like 300 pages. We were about to publish it, my co-author Gabe Quachi and I, and then Apple came with the announcement of the all-new App Store. After 10 years, they really made a huge overhaul of the App Store. We had to go back, and basically it took us another 3 months to actually publish the damn book. But we're here now, and we're actually gonna today. It's not about me, but about these two wonderful people who are ASO practitioners at bigger brands, and they're going to share a bit on how they're coping with the change in iOS 11. I think actually, yeah, I was looking for that one. Just quick note on me. I'm partner at Feature. I lead a mobile growth consultancy / agency in Berlin, and we're working with brands like Skyscanner and Headspace on their apps optimization. But yeah, let's have an intro maybe from George and then Julia.
Yeah, sure. So I'm George from Georgia. Grew up in Moscow. Over 12 years experience in different sales and marketing roles with different companies such as United Nations, the Coca-Cola Company, Microsoft, and Zalando. Over 4 years of App Store optimization experience. Right now I'm working at Shpock. Shpock, as you know, is a top free boot sale app. If you want to buy and sell used stuff easily, that's the proper place to do that. So please download it, our app. we launched in 2012, and right now we are presented on 6 countries: United Kingdom, Germany, Austria, Italy, Sweden, and Norway. So, and okay, yeah, that's it.
I'm Julia. I'm from Zalando. I'm in Berlin since 4 years, and I started specializing in mobile marketing since I'm here. And in the past couple of years, especially about ASO. Zalando is the leading online fashion platform in Europe, and we operate in 15 countries. And we no longer need to scream out for attention in our ads.
Here, going to flip to the next slide. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, so quite a bit has changed, and I think the first thing that has that was really noticeable is that actually the navigation changed quite a bit. So the previously really important in iOS 10 and lower iOS versions were the top charts and the categories. So people would go and download there or do a lot of app discovery via the top charts and those categories. I think for Zalando that must have been quite a bit of an impact that you're now a bit buried away. Those top charts are a bit buried away into, I think you have to click 3 times or 4 times even to actually get to those top charts. Can you tell us a little bit more about how that has impacted Zalando, or did you not see a big change?
Yeah, I mean, the whole navigation change, and the whole point was to see how it really impacted the user experience overall. I have to say that for us it was like we kept an eye on search browse data from the console, and luckily we see stable data coming from there, and I think we backed up by featurings quite nicely. But yeah, I could expect that this could be very different from smaller or indie apps. In general, the whole navigation changed. So the whole focus now is on editorial, and so apps have to rely more on the new features they have and the relationship they can build with Apple. And especially working on innovation and new things, and that's how you increase your chances to be featured by Apple. So that's a good way still to keep more visibility over there. So the top charts are not completely removed; they're just hidden away. So you have to scroll down the app or game tab really, and only the top 3 are above the fold. So it's a totally different kind of visibility, but I would say it's still worth be in there if you can.
Yeah, so I think a nice segue. You were already touching on that. It has been moved a bit from the top charts to editorial. George, can you tell us a little bit more about how you're handling that change?
Yeah, sure.
shift?
I think, in my opinion, Apple did a great job to add this Today app and editorial, and I think it's became more interesting for users, and users can find some interesting apps. If we talk about it, for sure, it brings more daily and weekly active users to App Store. And there are like two sides. Yeah, first is of course well-known brands and apps. They can use this opportunity to inform users for their special discounts or special campaigns through this editorial content. But on another side, it's a very rare case that we can see apps from indie developers, and it's very pity because some of the indie developers has really cool apps with cool featuring, and in my opinion, Apple can do better to promote them as well.
Yeah, cool. Maybe the indie developers also have to discover the form that Apple put up. You can actually submit your app there to
exactly, but
get featured.
Yeah, but at that case, you have to wait like at least eight weeks.
Yeah.
And it's like
better to have a rep there for sure. Yeah, and then I think also big changes in the search results. We've seen especially the app name go from 50 to 30 characters. I think only a year ago it was 255 characters.
Exactly.
Now it's back to 30. And a subtitle has been added, 30 characters. How are you using that? Is it in terms of keyword optimization, and how do you have also look at that from a branding point of view? We just had Adeline talk about how you kind of combine the two, branding and ASO. And we see here as well in this example that you always have the issue of the trimmed titles, which don't look great. How do you cope with that? And what have you learned about the subtitle, I think, in terms of keyword optimization?
Yeah, actually, it's a cool addition from App Store, because we actually get 10 additional characters that we can include additional keywords. Because based on our experience, keywords weight has the same weight in title as the subtitle so far. Maybe it will change by time, but right now it's that we got additional 10 characters more than it was. Yeah. Totally agree in branding perspective with you that such brands like Spock or Zalando, they shouldn't focus pure on App Store optimization stuff if they are doing on their app product page, but also have to focus on branding how to add branding elements or their app store page. And for example, if you are doing, guys, App Store optimization, or if you are doing App Store optimization on your title, you have to add you have to search only not for keywords, but of course add the branding elements like slogans, etc., that you use for other campaigns. The same you can do for screenshots. You can add like a branding background, etc.
Cool. Yeah, Julia, do you have anything to add? How you kind of combine keyword optimization with conversion rate optimization?
I mean, I do agree that having a subtitle is a nice playground and gives a lot of new field to experiment, and finding the balance with branding sometimes it can be hard. So I think you can have a totally different approach for indie apps, where you can you have to get your app out there, and you want people to get to know you, so you rely on keywords, and you want to keep your keywords interesting for the algorithm. But at the same time, you want to create a strong brand, and there are cases where the brand is already known, but you have to confirm that, you have to localize it and make sure that it still makes sense for the users when they go there and find your app. So is a tricky balance sometimes, and it can also happen that for bigger apps, bigger brands, there are more restrictions when it comes to branding. So it's not necessarily easier.
Yeah. How do you cope with like we now have we switched from 2 tiles in iOS 10 to 3 tiles, at least in portrait mode. How do you cope with that bigger change, and how do you look at conversion, and how in general, I guess, George, how do you A/B test in the Apple App Store?
Yeah, in terms of A/B testing, like there are several approaches, but we pick one of them. So actually, we do A/B testing on Google Play Store. Then we pick up the winners and try to implement this on App Store and see the difference between before and after A/B testing. That's how we work. You know, there are, of course, we are aware of third-party tools that you can do A/B test, but in that case you can lose your users because you imitate product page. So it's a kind of a bad experience for users, and we want to avoid it. You know. Of course, there are also another opinions on that, but we are like on the safe side.
You know, I agree that using Google Play as a proxy for testing is can be a good approach. Of course, unfortunately what you're missing out on is a more in-depth analysis and real understanding how users do behave throughout the page. So you don't only see conversion, but you want to see, for example, how much time they spent on a certain screenshot, on the video. So video is also new. That's also very interesting to test, and at the moment you don't get any big insights from there. I agree the user experience is not probably the best, but that you can evaluate if it's worth sacrificing the experience of a few users for a better good. That's
that's definitely true. So you also touched on video. That was also one of the big changes in iOS 11, that you now had this autoplay video.
Yes.
How does that impact kind of user behavior and kind of the chances that you have in converting those App Store browsers into actually active users?
That has potentially a big impact. So it's now playing in the search results, auto-playing the first screenshot, and you can add up to 3 videos. So there is a lot of testing you can do out there. Nice is also the landscape version that basically fills out the whole width of the screen. So that's also a cool test, pretty cool to test. Again, unfortunately, you cannot measure the impact in your console. So if you really want to see how it works, it is maybe recommendable to go out and test on some external platforms. Like some apps see an uplift up to a 30%. So I would say is definitely the first element you should test. With the new
really
App Store.
Capture the user's attention when they're browsing.
Both from search results and also on your product page.
Yeah, cool. And then I think on the next slide we have the difference. Actually, a lot has changed already since iOS 10.3, where you now have this in-app rating prompt and actually can reply to reviews in the Apple App Store. Have you already implemented this in-app rating prompt, and have you seen any impact there? Or
actually, we are going to implement it with the upcoming release, so we're almost there. It's gonna. We expect a big change, a big impact. So usually, what happens and what we saw from other apps, maybe George can confirm this. You see the number of reviews, of course, going down quite a bit because the maximum prompts per year is 3 times. And if a user rates once, it won't be shown again before another year. But what's much easier now and can be also done in the app itself without leaving the app is just the rating. So that the rating should increase, and is very good to also build like a good amount of rating and a good average maybe in the short term, and especially for indie apps, new apps is great.
Yeah, totally agree with Julia on that point, and it also brings on well-known app and brands some value, because right now users can see all-time rating and versus the ratings from new release. So it's very good for a well-known app. And also, we regarding in-app prompt, we already did it. We already implemented in May, and since that, we can see the increasing of our total amount of rating, and most of them are 5-star rating. So it's really brought a lot of impact.
Yeah, I think I heard as well. Instagram basically doubled their number of ratings overnight,
exactly, like
from 1 to 2 million or so.
Exactly.
Really,
yes.
really impactful. Yeah, I think that there's also a small example here on this page for iOS 11, how you actually can engage with your users replying to reviews now. We've seen that already in Google Play for a little while, but I saw actually that Zalando is doing that pretty nicely on the App Store as well.
Yeah.
At least Zalando Lounge.
And Zalando Lounge is.
How do you see that, and how do you perceive that opportunity of replying to reviews?
I think it's a very nice way to engage with your users, and it's just is a new channel, is another channel, another way to communicate with them, and also to show to new users that you're caring, or you're engaging with users, and you value their feedback, and you're willing also to work on that to improve your app and your service for them. Of course, this is especially true for newer apps, or apps who want to build like a brand awareness and trust. In other cases, well, for apps that have been there maybe for a longer time and already have like a good average rating, they might decide that it's not worth the effort in the end, because there's just this much that can improve on the average, and maybe it's just depending on the volume of reviews they have, is maybe too much worth and too much work and not worth the effort. That's
awesome. Yeah, I think we're a bit over time already, so maybe if you have one more tip for the audience on how to apply ASO in 2018 or
sure.
as of today.
Yes, so I see like couple trending stuff. First, app search ads will go global. Second is increasing of content editorial impact. And third, of course, apps with augmented reality, because Apple right now pushing AR apps. They have separate category on games, also as in app itself, and I think it's in nearest futures they will become very popular, among users, because it's in the user experience is very cool versus common app, and it's really good engagement and really exciting for users.
Yeah, I think another nice thing to have would be organic downloads data from both consoles. A/B testing so in iTunes Connect would be very nice, and more insights in general from the consoles on what we do in ASO there. So in the end, ASO is a lot of reiteration and patience, and you want to see your efforts rewarded.
Of course. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Totally agree with you that they have to implement some more in-depth analysis versus what we right now see, on the both tools.
Both iTunes Connect and the Play Store.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hope you go home with
Thank
a
you,
couple of ideas.